Congressman Andrew Clyde. Congressman, great to have you on the show, sir.
Well, thank you. It's great to be with you. I appreciate being here.
You are involved in so many things, but I want to get your take on the top news of the day. WNBA star Brittany Griner traded for an arms merchant that was of great value to the United States. Your thought on whether this is an equal swap or not?
Well, I'll tell you, it's great news that Brittany Griner is coming back to the United States. I think that's fantastic. But I'll tell you, this is another example of failed leadership on the Biden administration. He left Paul Whelan behind. You have Victor Bout, all right, the merchant of death, the greatest, most lethal arms dealer in the entire world. That was an ace card that we had. And what did we get? We got Brittany Griner, but he left Paul Whelan in Russia. That was a huge mistake. He should have been able to get both of them back for Victor Bout. And I just think it's another failure, just like Obama failed back when he brought our servicemen home for 5 terrorist generals in exchange for 5 terrorist generals. It just shows you the weakness of President Biden. He should have been able to get way more than that for Victor Bout. But I'm glad that Brittany Griner's home.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm glad you brought that aspect up, because one of the things that President Biden said this morning, he said that it wasn't possible to bring home that Marine, Paul Whelan. It wasn't a situation where they could do both. It was a situation of either this or nothing at all. Do you think that would have been the case under someone like President Trump?
No, not at all. I think President Trump would have gotten them both back. You saw weakness in Afghanistan, and as a result of that, I think that contributed to the Russian invasion in Ukraine. Biden showed weakness there. So you can see the domino effect across major foreign decisions across the world of our president's weakness on the world stage, and it's really sad to see. I wish he were stronger. And I wish that people respected this country more. The foreign countries did, but they don't, because we have a weak leader.
Yeah, so true. Congressman, you have been one of the clarion voices on the crisis at the border. Another border agent killed last night during a pursuit. The Customs Border Patrol agents seem like they're really short of the resources they need to do their job.
Well, again, you have lawlessness at the southern border. This is a self-inflicted wound by the Biden administration, and we're going to have criminal activity, and we're going to have tragic events at the border because of this. President Biden could seal that border just like President Trump sealed that border. He could finish the border wall, which is necessary. He could better fund the Customs and Border Protection. And we could put more agents down there if we had a wall. The agents would be more effective with a wall. But he refuses to do that. And now we're losing Title 42, I think, on December 21st. It's going to be a complete disaster on our southern border. And we are going to see more tragedies like what we saw this week, what we've seen this week.
Yeah.
And that's a shame.
Absolutely. And I want to stay on the topic of the border, because there is another issue that relates to a porous border that affects Georgia, I think, more than it does other quote-unquote non-border states, even though we know that pretty much every state is a border state. And that's the issue of human trafficking. Hartsfield-Jackson Airport, at least as of 5 years ago or so, was a major hub for human trafficking. Is this something that Georgians care? I know they care about it, but is it something that's really widespread and therefore affects their vote?
Well, I'll tell you that human trafficking is one of the things that the open border exacerbates. We see that when the folks come up from the south and the coyotes that bring the young teenagers, the unaccompanied children that have been coming in by the thousands. It's incredibly concerning to a state like Georgia. And then you have the Biden administration flying unaccompanied children and aliens, illegal aliens, to all the other states, making each state a border state. And it's certainly concerning for Georgia because Atlanta is a hub of traffic. Just of all sorts of people. And so that human trafficking is going to exist there too. And that's something that we have to shut down as best we can because it's an evil, very, very evil thing. And President Biden is literally responsible for it. I consider the federal government to be the final link in the chain of human trafficking when it comes to what they have been doing on the southern border.
It's a true story. When you put it all together, he really is the end responsibility for this. Congressman, there are many troubling statistics about the border. The one that's most striking to me, more people with terrorist ties have crossed the border in the last few months than the entire presidency of Donald Trump. What is Homeland Security telling you about why so many are trying now, what their ties are, and what potential danger may be lurking in the country from people who have already gotten in?
It's the Border Patrol has caught over 100 people on the terrorist watch list. We know that just during the Biden administration. That's over 5 times what was just during the Trump administration. That is so concerning to us. And you've got to wonder, why are these people coming from the southern, who are on the terrorist watch list? Why are they coming into the United States? But what's even more concerning are those we haven't caught. There were 900,000 what are considered to be gotaways. And those are people that we know actually crossed the border, but we didn't have the resources to go and detain them. So if you're gonna terrorist and you've got a nefarious plan, then you're not going to be one of those who gives yourself up. You're going to be one of those who evades as best possible. So of those 900,000 gotaways, how many more have not been caught who are actually on the terrorist watch list? President Biden, again, his policies are directly responsible for this. It all goes back to Biden's policies. And, our country's going to suffer for it. But we will take back the majority in January, and we're going to do our best to shut that down through the power of the purse.
Yeah, and another thing that affects national security and safety here at home, inner city crime, the crime surges that we are seeing across America. One of the 4 pillars of the commitment to America by House Republicans is improving safety in America. For you, what are some of the most important things to alleviate that crime pressure?
The federal government honestly needs to worry about our borders. That's its primary responsibility, and then supporting law enforcement. We have sanctuary cities across our country that are magnets for these illegals coming in, and we have to be able to get rid of sanctuary cities. And I think we can do that through the funding mechanism of the federal government. But you've got local support of law enforcement, which is so critical to reducing crime. And when the politicians, those elected by the people, are not willing to support their law enforcement, then we're going to have problems. And we're seeing that in the Democrat-led cities, not the Republican ones, but the Democrat ones.